Imagine a country that didn't even exist 250 years ago. A country carved out of wilderness, built on the backs of immigrants, torn apart by civil war, and today? It runs the global economy, commands the most powerful military in human history, and has its culture playing on screens in every single country on Earth. How does that happen in just 250 years? Because here's what's wild: for almost 1,800 years, the two biggest economic powers on Earth were India and China. Not Europe, not America, India and China. And then, in just about 100 years, this young upstart nation came out of nowhere and flipped the entire script. Today, we're going to break down exactly how that happened, the strategy, the wars, the money, the luck, and the dark side that history books don't always talk about. Let's get into it. Before we talk about America's rise, you need to understand what the world looked like before it. For nearly 2 millennia, from roughly the year 1 AD all the way to the early 1800s, the global economy was dominated by two countries, India and China. Most of the world's trade flowed through them. Most of the world's wealth lived there. They weren't just powerful, they were the center of the entire global economy. Then came European colonization. Britain, France, and Spain started carving up the world. They colonized Africa, Asia, and the Americas. And as they extracted wealth from these regions, power slowly shifted to Europe. And then, enter America. In 1492, Christopher Columbus, an Italian explorer sailing for Spain, stumbled upon Caribbean islands near North America. Europe suddenly had a new continent to exploit. Colonization began almost immediately. Britain established its first American colony around 1607. Then France. Then Spain spread through South America, which is why most of South America still speaks Spanish today. The Native Americans, the people who had lived there for thousands of years, were devastated. Their population dropped by 80 to 90%, mostly due to diseases like smallpox and influenza that the Europeans brought with them, diseases the Native Americans had zero immunity to. Then, on July 4, 1776, the American revolutionaries declared independence from Britain, and the United States of America was born. Now here's where it gets interesting. America's GDP graph barely moved before 1850. So what changed? America started growing, and I mean physically growing. Here's the thing most people don't think about. The bigger your country, the bigger your economy. More land means more resources. More resources means more production. More production means more GDP. It's almost that simple. And America was aggressively expanding its territory throughout the 1800s. Here's how it worked. As Britain, France, and Spain were colonizing the rest of the world, America positioned itself differently. It was already a democracy. So when smaller territories had a choice, become a colony of some European empire, or join the USA and get democratic rights, many of them chose America. That's how states like Florida, Illinois, and Ohio joined the Union. That's how Texas, which had gained independence from Mexico in 1836 but was still being pressured by Mexico, chose to become an American state. One by one, states kept joining. The country kept getting bigger. But let's be real, America wasn't always playing nice. In 1867, America purchased Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million. That was actually a negotiated deal. But in 1898, America overthrew the Kingdom of Hawaii and just took it. Annexed it. Hawaii is literally in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And America said, yeah, that's ours now. That same year, President William McKinley took Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines from Spain. America paid Spain $20 million for the Philippines, and then granted it independence in 1946. So, money well spent? The point is, by 1900, America was a massive country. And a massive country is a powerful country. Now we hit the turning point, the moment that truly launched America into superpower status. World War I and World War II. And here's the part that sounds almost too convenient. These wars were fought almost entirely in Europe. France, Germany, the UK, Italy, Spain, they were obliterating each other on their own soil. America did participate. Thousands of American soldiers died. But the battles weren't on American territory. American cities weren't bombed. American factories weren't destroyed. While Europe was burning, America was building. America sold weapons to all sides. It supplied food, equipment, and ammunition. And it made an enormous profit doing it. Meanwhile, something even bigger was happening on the financial side. When the wars broke out in Europe, people panicked. They feared their own currencies would collapse, and in many cases, they did. So what did smart money do? It fled to safety. And safety, in the early 20th century meant the US dollar. America was stable. America was far from the fighting. The dollar held its value. So Europeans started buying dollars in huge quantities, and the value of the dollar shot up. Then came the defining financial moment of the 20th century. In 1944, near the end of World War II, representatives from 44 Allied countries gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. They made a decision that would shape the entire global economy for decades. They agreed to link all of their currencies to the US dollar. And the US dollar would be linked to gold. This is known as the Bretton Woods Agreement, and it made the US dollar the world's reserve currency. Think about what that means. Every international trade deal, every oil transaction, every major global purchase, it all runs through the dollar. Every country in the world needs to hold US dollars to participate in the global economy. That's not just power, that's structural power, the kind that compounds over time. After the wars, institutions like the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank were created, and America had a central role in all of them. In 1947, the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, was signed by 23 countries, later becoming the WTO in 1995, promoting global free trade on terms that, not coincidentally, heavily favored the United States. Europe was rebuilding from rubble. America was building an empire. After World War II, there were supposed to be two superpowers, America and the Soviet Union. What followed was the Cold War, a decades-long ideological battle between American capitalism and Soviet communism. They never fought each other directly. Instead, they fought through other countries, funding opposite sides in conflicts across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. America's strategy? Stop the spread of communism at all costs. Sometimes that meant funding opposition movements. Sometimes it meant propping up authoritarian leaders who weren't democratic, but were anti-communist. Sometimes it meant directly intervening in other countries' politics through the CIA. In Bolivia, CIA operatives were involved in the capture and execution of Che Guevara in 1964. In Operation Cyclone, America funded and armed Taliban militants in Afghanistan to push back Soviet influence. The same groups that would later become a massive problem for America itself. Similar stories played out in Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Iran, the Congo, and the Dominican Republic. The result? Dozens of countries became directly or indirectly dependent on American political and military support. America had leverage everywhere, and to maintain all of this, America invested heavily in its military. Today, America has over 800 military bases in more than 70 countries. No other country on Earth comes close. In 1949, America formed NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, with Western European nations. It's still active today. For decades, Western European countries relied on America for their defense, which kept them deeply tied to American interests. Then in 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. Just like that, the Cold War was over. And there was only one superpower left: America.